So you would say you're not a Pepperidge Farm chocolate chip cookie guy, because generally those are pretty crunchy.
Those are delicious, from what I remember.
It depends on the Pepperidge Farm. Like if you're going, I can't find the Brussels anywhere anymore. Do they make those? I don't know.
Good question.
No idea.
The Brussels mint was the most delightful cookie. Crunchy, fine. The Milano, kind of in between. I'm cool with the Milano.
Oh, the mint Milano is the best. The best.
Mint Milano is so awesome. Yeah. The thing that's fun about the mint Milano is you eat it in thirds, right? So you take your first bite and then you try to split it apart with your teeth in your mouth.
Or I just ripped it with my hands.
No.
I'm picturing some type of Hulk maneuver.
Yeah.
I just tore the Milano with my hands.
Just tore it with my hands. Fuck this Milano. Yeah. Oh, boy.
Man, I tore that Milano so hard. Crumbs got everywhere.
Tore that Milano a new one.
Yeah. Why is the floor so crunchy? Evan, were you eating Milanos again?
Maybe.
No, that would be mushy.
Right. They would have been dunked first. So it would have been more of a
squish.
More of a squish. Oh my God.
Somewhere in the middle of Arizona, you painted a desert and
Hey everybody, welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Dave Riedel. When I do write about movies, it's for Salt Lake City Weekly, and I'm also a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
My name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair for the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living.
And my name is Megan Kearns. I'm a contributor to Edge Media Network, and I too am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
Yeah, you are. So we've got 4 films on our docket this week. We have Borat, subsequent movie film. just makes me laugh. Somebody remind me of the name. The Trial of the Chicago 7. Synchronic, and Bad Hair. So, without further ado, ADO, not adieu like the French, like goodbye. Without further ado, I'm going to get into Borat subsequent movie film just because I'm the only one who saw it and I don't have too much to say about it, except, oh my God. It's really, did either of you see the first one?
Yes.
No.
Okay, so we've got an Evan yes and a Megan no. So the first movie is so outrageous. If I recall correctly, there's a scene where Sacha Baron Cohen and the guy who plays his producer are just running around a hotel naked trying to beat the shit out of each other.
Yes.
Okay. So there's nothing
Correct.
like that in this movie. So it is simultaneously less outrageous, but it is also simultaneously more outrageous because this movie is all about specifically anti-Semitism and racism. And misogyny. Whereas the other one, it's about those things, but
it's more meandering.
It's more meandering, even though it's shorter. This movie feels tighter, even though it's about 10 minutes longer. And it's, I can't, it would be really funny if it didn't shine a light on so many things that are so horrifying. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
I get that.
There's the scene where Borat dresses up as a country singer and goes to a pro-Trump rally and he sings this song about, he gives the audience a choice whether he's going to sing along, have them sing along with him the line, what is it? Barack Obama, what you going to do? Something about tossing him in prison or chopping him up like the Saudis do. I don't remember what it is, but the people in the audience are gleefully like, choosing chop them up like the Saudis, and people are giving like the Zig Heil sign, and you're watching it, you're going, I would be laughing if these people didn't maybe live 3 doors down from me, you know?
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing about this character and about this persona that Sacha Baron Cohen adopts is he puts people at ease so that they feel like they can bring out the worst qualities in themselves and just be themselves on screen, and it's horrifying to watch.
Yeah. And at the same time, I also wonder like how people from Kazakhstan feel about Borat, because like I don't know what people from Kazakhstan are like, but I'm pretty sure they're not like Borat. So,
Right.
I have no frame of reference for that, so I can't speak to it. But one of the other things they do, and I vaguely remember this, is he interrupts Mike Pence speaking at the CPAC convention from earlier this year, and I remember thinking, haha, kind of, but in the movie, it's like it's kind of funny in the movie, but I don't know. It's just, we're in such a weird, fucked up time right now. And the movie, they were shooting it and the pandemic hit while they were shooting it. So the pandemic plays a role in it. You have to see this movie to believe it. I don't know. And they catch Rudy Giuliani doing something horrible on camera. So, which has actually been all over the news today. Today is we record the show usually on Wednesdays. This will be out Friday. Today on Wednesday, October 21st, 2020. There have been a lot of news stories about Rudy Giuliani, and is this going to be the end of his career as we know it? One can only assume that it won't be, given how things are going. But in a different time and place, if he were still the mayor of New York in 1990 whatever, and he did this, he would have had to resign. So,
it is so interesting thinking about how this is all over the news, considering that considering with the screener came the warning about do not spoil, do not talk about people because they're real people. Now it's like exploded everywhere.
I feel like I'm not spoiling anything because it's been all over the news all day.
Right. No, you're not. But that's what I mean. Like, it's just fascinating to me that there was,
Well, I was just going to say, I even mentioned that as a concern of covering the film in the first place, is that it came with this very sternly worded, request.
Yeah. And I have to say, having seen it now, I don't know what anybody was expecting as far as spoilers not getting out, because it's crazy, some of the stuff in this movie. Like all of his movies,
Well, Rudy Giuliani responded to it very nastily. So nastily, I'm going with it. So it's like, how can you not talk about it? Like, even if you avoided it, in your review or your coverage, or what have you, like Rudy Giuliani, put it on display. So
yeah,
I would say it's fair game now.
Yeah,
it wasn't
absolutely.
Before.
And I also want to give some, the woman who plays his daughter, whose name in real life is Maria Bakalova. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but she's really good. She is really good in this part. You can understand how people would see her and think, oh, this is a 16-year-old who doesn't know anything about the United States and, blah, 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 blah. But one of the things that is always so crazy to me about the Borat character is how he goes to the absolute depths of horrible things that people would say, and the people he's talking to say things that are even worse. So there's a lot of cringeworthy moments in Borat, but you guys haven't seen it, so let's move on. Oh, I also wanted to say the full title of the movie. I said it's, they're calling it Borat subsequent movie film. The entire title is, after that, delivery of prodigious bribe to American regime for make benefit once glorious nation of Kazakhstan. So there you go.
All right.
That's what it's called.
Wow.
But moving on to the trial of the Chicago 7, which coincidentally also stars Sacha Baron Cohen and a lot of other people.
Yes.
A lot.
Very different role.
Very different role. We all know how I feel about Aaron Sorkin, so maybe you guys should take the lead on this.
Wait, I actually don't know how you feel about Aaron Sorkin.
Oh, you don't?
Nope.
I think he's terrible. I think that
well,
for the most part, his work is it's not derivative because he's the only person who does this, but I just dislike the way all of his characters speak in the same voice. It really drives me bonkers.
Okay.
So that's basically what it boils down to. And there are times when it transcends that. A Few Good Men, for example. Even though the characters do all speak in the same voice in that, for some reason it works better. Maybe it's because Rob Reiner directed it.
I was just going to say, he didn't direct it, so maybe that's why, yeah.
But anyway, what did you guys think about Trial of the Chicago 7?
I liked it.
Okay.
I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. It held my attention. I thought it was extremely relevant culturally to what has been happening this year. I almost wish it came out much sooner in the year, because I feel like there were some really vital things that this movie had to say about protests and how the government and the police use the same exact bullshit tactics in this, in present day that they did in the 1960s to try and suppress free speech. So I wish more people had seen this earlier in the year, because then they would have, a lot of the things that the police were doing in here in Boston and other places would make a lot more sense and be a lot more believable to them.
Yeah. Well, there's those 3 people who are facing 40 years in prison, I want to say, in Colorado for one of the protests. I can't speak too much about it because I don't know too much about it, but that something like that is going on now in real life. I was thinking about that while watching Trial of the Chicago 7. Megan, what did you think?
I liked this too. I am not anti-Aaron Sorkin, although certain things I'm like, no, certain projects. But no, overall, I like his snappy dialogue. I like the way he writes films and TV. Well, TV not so much actually, but film. But anyway, yeah, I think the acting in this is really superb. I think Yahya Abdul-Mateen II is amazing as George Seal. I think Sacha Baron Cohen is okay. Didn't quite work for me, but I think John Carroll Lynch I'm always delighted to see John Carroll Lynch on screen. He's
so good.
He's so good in this. He's so good in everything. I think he is such an unsung, amazing actor. But I think Jeremy Strong is really great in this. Really great. So yeah, I think
interesting.
Yeah, and not his usual kind of stiff character that he plays. That we've seen him play a few different times. This is more kind of goofy, outspoken, much more relaxed than we're used to seeing him on screen.
Exactly. Yeah. I think Mark Rylance, another actor I always love seeing and always brings so much depth. He is amazing.
He was great.
Yeah, he is absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So I think it's good. I think it's always hard to take a historical event and distill it, especially this event. I was reading, there's a Vanity Fair article about what happened in the movie that's real, what didn't make it to screen. And the actual trial was even more over the top, out of control, which just kind of blew my mind. That watching this, I'm like, that can't have actually happened. Did it? And no, most of it did actually happen.
They bound and gagged Bobby Seale, which when that happened, to reiterate or to expand on what you were saying, Megan, I thought that must have been artistic license. I thought, and it happened. No. And I have to say, when that happened, I sobbed.
Yes. Same. Same. So, I was shaking. Yeah.
I hesitate to give Aaron Sorkin credit anywhere, but what a well-directed and well-written scene.
And well acted too.
Yeah.
But
of course.
You're totally right. Totally right.
And I think that we're kind of overlooking Frank Langella and how great he is as the fucking world's worst judge.
He's amazing too. He's so terrible. He's so good at being terrible. Yeah. So no. Yeah, I really like this. And I just want to say, Evan, I completely agree with you how much it speaks to the current day. And it is interesting. And I think because I did a seminar at the Coolidge that talked about historical films or historically set films and what does it mean when a filmmaker has a film set in the past? Are they trying to just retell the past, or what commentary are they making, today, currently? And it's very, very obvious that Aaron Sorkin is drawing parallels to, the protests today, like literally the way when they're marching and they turn the corner and there's a whole line of cops in riot gear, and taking off their badges, and it's just using tear gas. It's like, not that these are new tactics, of course, but it's just the way it's framed and shot. It's very clear he's trying to make a parallel to what's happening today to protesters.
And haunting too. That scene that you're talking about where they're taking off their badges, you see the expressions on their faces as they're, kind of whipping off their badges and preparing for battle. And it's absolutely haunting. To me, it's right up there with the images we saw over the summer of those cops pushing over that, 70-year-old man and then just continuing to walk, even though he's, smashed his head on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or of cops who murder Black people. Yeah. It's just, it's so like all of it and in conjunction, like the absolute brutality. And it's horrifying. And I think this film really captures it. I mean, arguably it could have done even more, you know, but there's so many things to, I think, juggle and navigate in this film. There's so many characters, so many things happening.
Yeah.
It's an epic story in scope.
Yes.
Yeah. There are three things I want to touch on really quick, if I may. One, Eddie Redmayne. Didn't hate him.
What did you say? Do we hate him?
Didn't hate him, which is, you know, I'm usually kind of anti Eddie Redmayne.
I am still anti Eddie Redmayne.
Okay.
In this as well. Although this is one of the better roles I've seen him in, I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, he's, you know, I think he plays it well. I think that he's one of the, I think he's so stiff.
Yeah. Especially after seeing him in Jupiter Ascending, where he's so freaking campy and amazing. And it's like, yeah, he's absolutely stiff. I think that's a perfect word to encapsulate him.
So then also, you know, Sorkin and I think it was Steven Spielberg for a while, we're trying to get this made for 14 years. So it kind of, the timing just sort of lined up perfectly with the release. And also, how about Michael Keaton coming in and stealing the fucking show?
Yes.
As the former attorney general. I mean, I always love to see Michael Keaton in just about anything except Birdman. Yeah. So when they walked in to his home and he was Ramsey Clark, I was like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then
same.
And how often do you see Michael Keaton underplay something? I mean, I feel like he's got a tendency to go big.
Yes.
And man, does he just play every note of this the right way?
Yeah,
you know?
he's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
I think I tweeted the best Keaton. The best Keaton is surprise Keaton, which he is in this movie. You know, you're not. You don't know who's going to show up. Sorry.
No, it's my own fault for reading Twitter.
Yeah,
but no, you're totally right, because I kept waiting for him.
Yeah, we've also been talking a lot about the movie, and I don't think we've really given a very brief plot synopsis. I know this is based on a true story, but we haven't really told people what this is about for those who aren't familiar with the story, the trial of the Chicago 7. So I figured we should maybe just give a very brief summary that this was a trial based on riots at the Democratic National Convention in 1968 in Chicago. And this was basically, it was a political trial. It was retaliatory against leaders in the Democratic Party from Nixon and his administration to try and show people that, you know, protests, you know, to try to quell protests over the Vietnam War. Did I miss anything?
No, that's it. That's
a good summary.
Yeah, I mean, they basically picked 7, technically 8 people, because we're not counting. What sucks is that originally Bobby Seale was also on trial, leader of the Black Panthers, and he literally had no connection to the rest of these men. Absolutely none. These people tangentially knew each other, but the point was that they were not in cahoots in any way, shape, or form to create a conspiracy, which is what they accused them of having a conspiracy to descend protests into violence and into the riots that then happened after this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm actually really glad that they covered that facet of it, because I feel like possibly a different filmmaker might have, you know, arguably cut, you know, him from the trial, and the fact that he was a part of it, and that he kept demanding representation, and that he didn't have his lawyer there, and he was continuously denied, and you know, the civil rights infractions, like, oh my God, and the fact that he was bound and gagged, like and even more things were done to him, you know, during the trial in real life. Like, all of these things are horrible. So I'm glad that they talked about that and included that. I'm glad, I mean, not that it happened, of course, but I'm glad that the film covers Fred Hampton's assassination by the FBI. Like, it's like, it's so horrifying. I mean, like, the film doesn't even fully encapsulate how horrifying that is.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that it at least touched on it, because it's so important.
Well, one of the things that's interesting about the movie is, so when Fred Hampton shows up in the movie, I was like, oh no.
Yeah,
because
same.
Because if you know anything about that period in history, you know that if Fred Hampton is alive at the beginning of the movie and it's the trial of the Chicago 7, by the end of the movie, he's not.
Right.
And so I was just wondering how they were going to do that. And I thought, I don't want to give Aaron Sorkin too much credit, but he weaved that in a really compelling, dramatically appropriate way. But some of the Aaron Sorkinisms that drive me crazy, the way people talk over each other in his movies in all the same ways, and the scene where Eddie Redmayne and Sacha Baron Cohen are talking about grammar in the way that Tom Hayden, Eddie Redmayne's character, wrote this thing. I was just like, can we please move away from this, Aaron Sorkin, just once in your fucking career? Like, I mean, come on.
Well, I'm actually so glad that you brought that up, because I had forgotten how much that irritated me, because that is a very conscious choice to have that in there. It's a very stylistic choice to have that in there. And what I would have preferred instead is more coverage of Fred Hampton and Bobby Seale. That would have been far more interesting to me. And we don't get, aside from the courtroom, we don't get a lot of Bobby Seale outside of the courtroom. Mm-hmm. And I would have liked to have seen that. So the fact that he's choosing to have this, pissing contest over grammar is really, I know it's a trademark of his, but it felt ridiculous here.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny, but it's ridiculous.
Passive pronouns and vague noun modifiers.
Yeah. I'm surprised you even remember. I just tried to block that out like when it was happening, it just made me mad.
Yeah, it made me mad, and it is funny. I think you're both right.
I also just want to disagree with both of you. I thought Jeremy Strong was weak. I thought his performance was like, and I think that he was meant to be this a little bit in the movie, but I thought the buffoonishness of his character just didn't work. So, and I don't think that, I think he just played, it was too over the top. I mean, you've got Sacha Baron Cohen there underplaying Abby Hoffman, but his idea of underplaying something is still kind of big. Yeah. And so to have the other yippee in the story, Jerry Rubin, as played by Jeremy Strong, kind of, it was, I don't want to use, say Cheech and Chong, because that's not what I mean, but it was a little bit too much. It was like they were a comedy act. And I know that they pulled stunts during the trial, like the thing where they wore the judge's robes and then had the police, that happened. Yeah. But it just seemed that a lot of it was, I don't know, it just inappropriate's not the word either. It just rubbed me the wrong way. But I did like seeing, I think is John Doman, is that his name? Who played John, not the chief from The Wire, who played John Mitchell.
Yes, I love him. I always love seeing him too.
Yeah. And
it's John Doman.
John Doman, thank you. And it made perfect sense that he would be playing a raging asshole.
Yes, because he does it so well.
Yeah, he is just the best. But one of the things that kind of bugged me was in the real trial, I think their names are John Froines and Lee Weiner. Was that who it is? They were acquitted of everything. And you don't see them get acquitted in the movie. They're just sitting in the gallery later. And unless you know what happened in history, that's got to be a little bit like, hey, where the fuck are those two guys? So
see, that's funny, because I didn't know what actually happened to them. And I was like, when I didn't see them, I was like, oh, they must have gotten acquitted, because we were told ahead of time that they were going to probably get acquitted. So to me, it kind of made sense, but I get what you're saying. But I followed it. And
I wish there were, I hesitate to say this, but I wish there was some more Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it. I thought he was really good.
Yeah, he is good. I don't think he's needed to be in it more.
Exactly.
But he is good. But he is good. I agree with you. I mean, I think that's the thing. There's so many great, I mean, I know you quibbled about, Dave, about our, liking Jeremy Strong in this, but there's really so many fantastic performances in this film.
Yeah. Yeah, there are. Mm-hmm.
One thing I wanted to mention before I forget is one of the things about the movie that I really appreciated was the storytelling and the editing, in which we would see the kind of cross-cutting between the courtroom and the actual moments of the riot. And I just thought that in a lot of points was done in a way that was really engaging and helped kind of convey the chaotic nature of those moments. Agreed. And how you're just kind of, you're purely operating on instinct and you're just trying to survive in those situations. And then they can come back to haunt you in court when people are picking apart your words, your decisions. And really all those people are trying to do was their best at the time that they could, with cops staring them down in riot gear and batons and ready to basically beat the shit and gas the shit out of them.
That is such a great point. I'm so glad you said that, because even though I'm not an Eddie Redmayne fan, and I'm still not in this film, I do think the scene between him and Mark Rylance, where he's, preparing him for cross-examination and being on the witness stand, and they're cutting back and forth between what he's saying and the riots and the protests. I don't know why I called it riots, because there were protests, but I think that is so well done and just incredibly effective. And I really agree with you.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, and I do want to say, even though I think that Sacha Baron Cohen was adequate in this, I do think that he played the scene when he was finally on the stand. I think that he did that well. I think that was a good exchange between him and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And
I agree. That was really good. I think that was his best scene in the film. Yeah,
and it's the scene where he's like, underplaying the most. He's just a guy on the stand there. Mm-hmm. So, anyway.
Yeah, he is funny. I was just going to say, he is funny in the rest of the film. Like, there are moments definitely that are comical, and which is, probably arguably needed, in such a really dark, heavy film. But I guess I'm not super huge fan of him. And I think, but it's like, there's just so many other good performances that I guess gravitated to more. But yes, on the stand, he was great.
Yeah. This is one of those things where I think Sacha Baron Cohen is known for playing characters that are huge. I would like him just to, see him, if he were going to be in a movie where he's not writing it and directing it like this, or another where he's not playing a famous person, like whatever. He's just some guy. He's just a guy who works at a bank, or he's a guy who, lives next door to a serial killer. I don't know. I would just like him to play a normal part, not the fucking guy in, what's the musical that I hate, Evan? All of them. But the one where he sings Master of the House.
Better than that.
Oh, Les Mis. Les Mis.
Yeah. Where it's like, okay, it makes perfect sense that he would play this character, but it's also like, and it's fun, but it also doesn't show me anything that because I've seen that actually on stage a bunch of times, and Master of the House is always a big highlight, blah, blah, blah. That's so great. I just want to see him do something where he's just a guy, I guess.
Hugo?
Yeah.
Are those movies out there? I don't know.
Hugo?
I still feel like he plays a bit of a cartoonish character in that movie.
Okay. I was just saying that I think is the closest I've seen, but
yeah, I was going to say the closest I've seen is he did a series on Netflix called The Spy, where he played an Israeli spy.
Right.
And
I forgot about that.
I liked his performance in it, but I ultimately had a hard time sticking with the show because I know the guy's fate in real life, and I was just like, I can't deal with torture, so I'm just like, can't continue this.
Okay.
Oh, there is something else I want to talk about before we move on. That the rousing ending where Eddie Redmayne reads all the Vietnam, all the people killed in Vietnam at the end, instead of giving his statement, or that is his statement. That didn't happen.
Of course not.
I know.
There's no way that would have happened.
But it would have been fucking amazing if it had.
Yeah.
but like this trial is just so out there that I like kind of bought into it. Like, oh, maybe this did happen. And then no. Sad face, no.
I mean, that's the thing that
I mean, but there were singing. There were like Judy Collins and like Arlo Guthrie were singing when they were on the witness stand, and like the judge told them like to stop singing, and so like they were reading song lyrics, and Allen Ginsberg read a poem like on the stand. Like, so I mean, this is like so out there. So I would have kind of believed that somebody read names at their statement at the end of the trial.
Yeah. Well, I guess Aaron Sorkin can't get it all right. So.
No, but it was a good feel good moment.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go on to Synchronic, the druggy time travel-y movie starring Jamie Dornan and Anthony Mackie.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's dig into this movie.
Okay. Do you have things to say, Evan?
I might. But I think we should maybe start with a plot summary.
Of course. I think that is a great idea.
2 New Orleans paramedics' lives are ripped apart after they encounter a series of horrific deaths linked to a designer drug with bizarre otherworldly effects.
That is
I mean-
surprisingly accurate.
See, I don't
Yeah.
think it is accurate. It doesn't even talk about the
Ooh.
goddamn time travel.
Well, yes.
Or that he's
I would
going
say
back to
those are the-
rescue his friend's daughter because she OD'd on the drug. Anyway.
Well, I think she just took it. I don't think she OD'd on it. The fact that
Okay,
she was
took it.
the fact that she was young is why she was able to travel through time. So guess what,
Yes,
listeners? That's the twist, is that this synthetic drug, it reacts with your pineal gland in a way that if you're young, you can travel through time and end up in God knows when, and you might not be able to make it back, which is what happens to Jamie Dornan's 18-year-old daughter after taking this drug. And Anthony
Mhm.
Mackie, because he has a pineal gland of a teenager and brain cancer,
At the
Yeah.
same time.
he's able to do this. He's able to take the drug and travel through time. So part of the movie is him experimenting with these pills, which there are, of course, a limited quantity of, because he has both bought
'Cause it's a
the
designer
rest
drug.
from a store, and the guy who created the pills commits suicide. So yeah,
Right.
it's a time travel movie that's also a drama about Anthony Mackie.
and
And-
drug addiction.
And drug and a family drama
And
in
And
its
a family
own
drama. Yes. It's all
strange
of it.
way.
Yes.
It's a little bit busy.
It's a little bit busy, and it doesn't. I mean, I kind of liked it. I'm not going to lie to you guys.
I
but
liked it.
but I will say I don't really think, if you think about it too much, the disparate elements don't really tie together all that well. Like
Mm-hmm.
the whole family drama with Jamie Dornan and everything. It's like you don't really see any of that happen. You sort of do.
Nope.
But it's just him telling Anthony Mackie, "Oh, my life's fucked up." Blah
Yeah.
blah 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 blah.
Yep.
It's like, all right, so we're going to spend all this energy with Anthony Mackie trying to go back in time to find his daughter, even though we know fuck all about them. I mean, come on, people.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I was really bored for the first 45, 50 minutes. But once Anthony Mackie starts doing time travel experiments, I was fully fucking in. I was so
Same.
in. And I'm like, finally, this movie kicked into high gear. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I feel like those first 45 minutes or so, they could have really dug into character development. And the filmmakers are clearly laying the groundwork or intending to or thinking they are, but I don't think it's done really well. But once it converts to the time travel element, I think it's great. And I think Anthony Mackie is really great. And that could also be why I enjoyed it so much, because I think he's really good in it.
Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah.
there's hilarious dialogue like, "Take the chemo, bitch."
Or I thought, well, I was going to say, which I tweeted about today, fuck Back to the Future.
You
The
know what I
past is all
liked?
cozy and shit in that, and it's not. The past sucks.
You know what's funny?
Right.
I just watched the Back to the Future Blu-ray with the Q&A that Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale do about how they decided to do the time travel, and they wanted the DeLorean, they wanted it to be a car, so because they never bought how you time travel in San Francisco and you
Right.
wake up in London.
Yes.
And I appreciated that this movie stuck to that and was just
Yes.
like, all right, if I am sitting on my sofa, and I time travel, then the spot where I end up is where my sofa would be
Yes.
in whatever
exactly.
year. I thought that was very
Mhm.
a good choice.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
how,
Yeah.
of course, he can't find what's her name until he goes to the goddamn rock, which that's another one of those things. I was just like, we made a whole big stink about the fact that she's sitting on this rock earlier in the movie, and now he's worried about the chair. She didn't take the drug in the chair. Come on.
Well,
And
that's the
then
other thing
she
too,
didn't.
is like, yeah, no, totally. And then, there's a lot of foreshadowing about the writing. Like you see always, multiple times. I will say, I do appreciate that she's not the one who wrote it though on the rock.
Yeah.
Like he's led
Yeah,
back to
that
her
was a
for
good
something
twist.
kind of random. But we have to talk about the dog hawking.
The dog?
No.
And
Yes.
how he gets stuck in like racist, whatever time. Yeah.
Yes. That is so horrifying. I was so upset at that scene.
Yeah.
It was like, why the fuck are you taking your dog back? Your dog's going
I
to get
knew it
stuck
was
in
gonna
time.
happen.
Yeah.
Totally. You know what's going to happen, but it's still just gutting when it does.
Yeah, it was kind of a bummer.
I was
Right.
Especially when you consider that the dog is just like, and his name is Hawking. I mean, talk about naming a character on the nose. I
Yeah.
mean, but yeah. Also, I kind of found myself liking Jamie Dornan's performance, and everything else I've seen him in, I've been like, I don't really like you much. So it was a nice change, you know.
I was going to say, I wish I cared about his character at all.
Well, he's such a douchebag.
I was so disinterested in everything he was saying.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah. Which I guess, it's hard because it's like, I liked him, but not, I agree, not what he was saying. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how this, so I've seen in a previous film by these filmmakers, Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who Justin Benson wrote it and they both directed it. Yeah. And I feel like I liked this film, but it also is so uneven. Like I really wanted more in depth with Jamie Dornan's character and with his daughter and what's going on with his marriage. And yeah, I really didn't care about any of that. I only really cared about Anthony Mackie. And I just wanted to say it is super on the nose that his dog is named Hawking. I will say though, at least we get a little bit about his kind of existential, pondering about time, talking about Einstein and, the illusion, the persistent illusion of time and how it's not real.
Yeah.
But it is still on the nose. You're right. Absolutely right.
I also thought that the drug maker's explanation of how time is like a record was a little clumsy, you know? So, but that's, a guy who collects records saying that. So take that with a grain of salt.
He also had a bat, like Anthony Mackie was like threatening him with a bat because he was like in his house. So maybe he was just coming up with it on the fly.
Yes. But did you notice though, they were talking about Debussy at one point, and then when Anthony Mackie went back to the racist guy's house, he was playing that album, or he was playing Debussy music on his 78. So anyway, lots of interesting things in this movie that didn't. I mean, I like you, Megan. I liked it, but it didn't all quite tie together to me. And
it doesn't.
And I'm not a fan of a lot of people, as you know, on this show. I'm not usually a fan of Anthony Mackie.
You don't say.
Yeah. Not usually a fan of Anthony Mackie, but I thought he was really good in this part. Yes. I was just like, man, you took this role and you committed to it, and it is working for you, So
I agree.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. I agree with you on all. Yeah, Dave, you and I are like in sync with what worked in this film and what didn't, because Anthony Mackie is the reason I really, really like this film. And I agree with you. I like the time travel elements too. And I love his experiments and how he's filming them and he's like making like charts and writing things out. I wish there was almost more of that and less of Jamie Dornan's situation.
And I was genuinely sad. I didn't like sob or anything, but I was genuinely sad, even though it's going to happen, that he gets stuck back in, I think it's the War of 1812.
Yes.
And
I cried.
I was pleased though that the racist guy, finally stepped on, I guess that landmine. I don't know, but it was a bummer. So
Yeah, I mean, it was. There is something kind of interesting though, thinking about like if someone just popped up like that, they would be attacked, and like how the other people, before they know it's a time travel drug, how like people are getting like random burns and random like swords like plunging through them. And
right.
I think that's I think that's a really cool setup. Like I really liked the beginning of that.
Yeah. But one thing that was kind of weird about the beginning. So did you notice that at the beginning, before Anthony Mackie gets into the time travel stuff, the movie jumps around in time, because it keeps going back to different, like it seems as if everything they're doing is on the same night, but then you realize it's not. But then once he starts traveling through time, the movie is a straight, it's a linear movie. I was just like, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah, well, I think it speaks to what the chemist was saying. He was saying that time travel, he was saying that when you take the drug, you experience time linearly, like as it actually is, as opposed to disjointedly, which is how you would experience it as a normal human being. So that's a great point, because I thought that was interesting and well done. I think we're all pretty much in agreement here about the things that didn't work, which is funny to find us all pretty much like on the same page about this movie.
I know. It's kind of eerie.
Wow. Yeah. How often does that shit happen?
Right?
I'm going to mark this down right now. We all three agree.
It's a momentous occasion.
Synchronic 10:56 p.m.
because I did like it despite its flaws, just like the two of you. You know, I can recognize what's wrong with it and still have enjoyed it because Anthony Mackie was good. He really committed to this role, and I wish the material maybe rose a little bit more to meet him, but I'm glad that he just kind of gave this his all and went for broke on it.
Yes.
For
agreed.
sure.
Agreed and agreed. Yeah.
All right. Well then, kids, let's move on to bad hair. Or as my fifth grade teacher would have called it, had bear. So, because he switched letters like that. Bad hair.
Okay.
I don't know. He was, that's what he did. Who wants to sum this up for us? I mean, it's, can you sum it up quickly like the other movies? I don't know. It's about a woman who gets some new hair and the new hair has a mind of its own.
Yeah. The weave starts being murderous.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of it, isn't it? Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's a satire, horror. It's a commentary on Black women and hair, sort of.
Sort of. Yeah. Written and directed by a dude, I might add.
Yes. Yes, Justin Simeon.
Who is a big part of Dear White People, right?
Yes, he wrote and directed Dear White People, the film, and then adapted the TV show.
Anyway, gang, opinions, thoughts, commentaries?
I'm just going to say
it.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I did not like this at all.
How did I know? How did I know? I don't know why, but I, for some reason, was like, Megan's going to hate this movie. I love this movie. I think it's amazing. But for some reason, I know Megan is going to hate this movie.
I think I fall between the two of you, which I do a lot. I have to point out. I am also not surprised, Evan, that you liked it and that Megan, you did not. I have gotten to know my co-hosts. I didn't think, Megan, that you would hate it the way you just did.
I didn't say I hated it.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, I thought you said you hated it.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't like it at all. We'll say that.
Well, I'm just going to put it like this. Once Laverne Cox showed up, I was like, I am fully on board, even though this isn't the best movie I've ever seen.
Oh, Laverne Cox is always amazing. She's great.
I know. Should just be in every movie.
Yes. Agreed.
Pete Davidson is correct. She's a national treasure.
She is a national treasure. I love her.
But so this, it's 1989. And what's her name?
Mm-hmm.
Anna? Is that her name?
Yes.
She gets, she works at, I guess it's supposed to be like, sort of like MTV, except what would you call this channel? It's
like
a black
cult.
Like a BET version
BET.
of MTV.
Yeah, there you go. And of course, white asshole executive
James Vanderbeek.
Dawson's Creek comes in and is saying the kinds of things to people that, like, his character, oh my God.
He's so great as a douche. He really is.
He really plays a great douche.
Yeah.
So anyway, basically he says that, well, we're doing some changes because your ratings are in the toilet and we're going to make it more, what is it? I can't even remember what he says. It's like, they're not going to make it more New Jack, but he says he likes New Jack.
Just buzzwords.
Yeah, he says New Jack is the future of not just black music, but of music in general.
Which is not true, as it turned out. So,
I mean, I love New Jack, but yeah, no.
Not of New Jack, yeah. And so the old programming director is sort of forced out, and they bring in for the longest time, I didn't realize it was Vanessa Williams. I'm like, why does this woman? No, I didn't. It's like,
I didn't either.
Oh man.
I was like,
she has such a distinctive voice.
It's not the voice, but I actually thought to myself at one point, it's like, this woman really looks like Vanessa Williams. So it is Vanessa Williams. And to get ahead, one of the things that Anna is encouraged to do to get ahead is to have her hair straightened. And so she gets a weave from Laverne Cox. And it turns out the hair is, I mean, it's not like possessed. You can't say that. It's whoever it belonged to before still has ownership of it, I guess. And to live, it drinks blood. It's vampire.
Yes.
Sure.
And so all kinds of things begin to happen. all involving the hair killing people, and Anna's career is furthered because of it until it's not. Is that fair? That's
Yeah, I would say so.
also strange, though, that she gets away with all of these murders. I did think to myself, like, at what point is she going to like get caught? Because
Yes.
when she's at that other hair salon near the end of the movie and her fingerprints are all over everything and 3 people are killed by her hair, and then she just goes home. I was like, is anybody going to notice? You could think, okay, when she kills, or I should say when the hair kills her landlord, I can see her getting away with that. He was a drunk.
Yeah.
And a rapist.
And a
He was
rapist.
a rapist.
And he fell off. She threw him out a window after she killed him. But
That was an amazing shot, by the way.
I was like, why are we out here in this alley? And I was like, oh, that's
Same.
why.
Oh, that's why.
And then when they were like, oh, he fell off the roof and we found bottles up there, I was like, oh, okay, makes perfect sense. She's going to get away with this one. And eventually it'll catch on. And then I knew at some point, Zora, Vanessa Williams, we were going to learn that her hair was also evil. I did not expect her hair to kill her the way it did, though.
Really? You didn't?
Well, when she started to cut it off, I was like, yeah, we're done here. But like before that, I didn't see that coming. So you know how, Evan, I always can see everything coming. I didn't see that coming.
Mm-hmm.
I am surprised because I saw that coming.
Ah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
I usually don't see things coming.
Well, I also wonder why, though. This is where the movie loses me a little bit at the end, though. How is it that the hair is then the spirit, whoever the spirit...
It's the witches, the witches' spirit.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
Sort of, but it's like, it's not... It's explained, Blair Underwood plays Anna's father, and he's a professor Uncle, excuse me. Uncle, he's a professor of, history, et cetera, et cetera. And he's talking about these kinds of stories and whether they're stories or whether they're real or whether they're magic or whether they're blah. And as he says, the conquerors don't really write the history of the people they conquer, which I thought was a good point.
It is.
Which is perhaps why Anna doesn't believe that her hair could kill her or other people. But it also, for as much time as they spend on it, they don't really spend a lot of time explaining why it happens. And I tend to think once horror movies get explained, they kind of lose their malevolence. But this kind of, I kind of felt like I needed more like, oh, it's definitely this is what happened. I don't know. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. I don't think at all.
I think you're wrong.
Oh.
I want to talk about, since you brought up that speech that Blair Underwood as her uncle gives about the Conqueror speech, which is great, but there's also an element that really made me incredibly uncomfortable. Like when it happens earlier in the film too, about the stories, when he's talking about them, and he talks about, or in the story that she reads, the moss-haired girl, it's like, before anybody, the red man was here, and then we were brought here, and it's, clearly talking about Native Americans. But there's something kind of bothersome that like Native Americans are kind of associated with like magical, like there's kind of this trope that Native Americans don't exist any longer in this world, and that they were just back historically and they were magical. And it's a trope that happens too. Obviously it's a trope, so it happens too often in film, but there's something about it that just made me really uncomfortable in the way it was set up in the story. And I have to say, like, I think it would be great. It is great to make a commentary or question or, the relationship that Black women have with their hair and how they're expected to assimilate, and they're expected to have, hair that conforms to a white Western European beauty standard. That's all great. I don't really think this is the film that really gets into that complexity, the subtleties of that. I mean, it's such a layered topic, and I really would be curious what it would have looked like if this had been written or directed or co-written or co-directed with a Black woman. I can't help but think that watching this, like, there's just, I mean, I'm a white woman, we're white, like, the three of us, but like there's something, like, I kept watching and things just kept not sitting well with me.
Mm-hmm. I can tell by the way you're describing it. Well, I tend to think that when you're telling a story that is mostly, in this case, like all of the main characters are women, except for, the douchebag Jay Farrow plays, whose name I can't remember. I always love to see Jay
Julius.
Farrow. Julius, thank you. And I tend to think, if you're going to have 75% of your cast of the speaking roles be women, then you should probably have a woman writing with you. Or at least and maybe Justin Simeon had like all of his friends and colleagues who are women read the script and be like, yeah, okay. But
sure.
I mean, I don't know.
Right. And that's the thing. We just don't know. Right.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right on that, because also, no group is a monolith. Like no, all women are not going to agree. All Black women are not going to agree,
sure.
What one person might be like, yeah, this is cool. Somebody else would be like, oh God, no. So that's totally possible.
Yeah. Evan, but you disagree with some of the, you love this movie. You loved it. So let's hear it.
I
man.
really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
I love the 80s vibe that they create.
See, if this had been set in the 70s, would you have loved it as much?
Oh, good question.
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I like the concept, and I think for me it was well executed. I love the idea of having a character grapple with hair and the decision of whether to try to assimilate or conform, and then having that decision lead to these horrible paranormal consequences, both from the perspective of it's wrong to try to assimilate to other people's standards, even though it can help you get ahead. But then I love the folklore angle to this, which I was not expecting. I was kind of expecting just kind of a straightforward, okay, this is evil hair kind of situation. I wasn't expecting it to have the kind of roots in this folklore story.
Roots,
pun intended.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that in a good way, and I dug it. I was all about the angle of Blair Underwood being this professor and talking about folklore, and him taking it seriously, and the family taking it seriously, and having it be a situation where she's not taking it seriously and she's kind of discounting it until she realizes, oh shit, this is exactly what's happening. And I love that scene where she goes in the middle of the night to talk to him, and then it kind of turns around as now she's the believer, but he's just kind of these are stories, and when she tries to say oh, do you think this is the same of the Native American myths or whatever, and he's like, well, I can't tell you that, we can't just lump everybody together. I
did
thought that was an
that.
effective conversation.
That was great.
So I don't know, I dug this. I like the 80s vibe. I like the concept. I think the concept was well executed, and I don't know, it was just fucking creepy as hell, even though I knew at the end what the solution was going to be, because everyone kept saying you can't get this weave wet. And it's of course.
Well, that's the other thing too, that absolutely plays into the stereotype that Black women don't go swimming and don't get their hair wet. So again, something else that I felt incredibly uncomfortable watching. Ugh. But anyway, I have to disagree completely. I'm sorry. I don't think this was well shot. I don't think it's well edited. I don't think it's well scored. I don't think there's anything aside from some of the acting and the concept. I don't really think this works on any. For me, this did not work on any level.
Strong shots fired. Wow. Right across
That's
the
okay.
bow.
You're allowed to be wrong.
Nope. You guys always say that, and I am allowed to be right, which I totally am.
I have to say, in a movie that spends so much time, in which hair is not the focal point, but it's kind of the focal point, Blair Underwood's dye job or whatever that was to make him look older was really distractingly bad. I'm just going to throw that out there, because Blair Underwood does not have hair, at least as far as I have seen it recently, that looks like that. And it's just, how when you can tell that they've aged, particularly male actors, poorly. I was just watching his hair the whole time, being like, nobody's hair is that kind of gray. No one's hair. Not one person. So, and plus, Blair Underwood just doesn't look old. So there's that.
No, he doesn't. I mean, there's that.
And I think, he's not, what is he, in his mid 50s probably?
No, I think he's older than that. But
anyway. So,
all right. You can't tell.
Yeah, true.
Blair Underwood. You just can't.
Mm-hmm.
He's a youthful looking guy.
He is a youthful looking guy. That's true. So Megan hated it. Evan
I
loved
didn't
it.
hate it.
Sorry, Megan had problems
Sounds like
with
you
it.
did.
Well, I didn't talk about what I liked, which I said is the acting. So
Oh.
there you go. I said I liked some of the acting. So if I hated it, I wouldn't have liked a single thing. I said I liked the concept of it, and I
did
liked
not
the acting.
mean to put words in your mouth. I'm sorry. Which performances did you dig?
Actually not Jay Farrow because I can't stand him. But I think Anna was great. I think Vanessa Williams, I'm always delighted to see her. She's great. Laverne Cox had her tiny role, but she's great. I think her friends were really good. The woman who plays her mentor is really good.
Yes.
Yeah, so no, I think all the performances are good. Yeah, for me, the really big parts were some of the dialogue. The plot, I think, is no. And the cinematography is just a big no for me. I think it was just not well executed. And the editing, too. And like I said, the scoring.
Okay. Well, you might be interested to know, Megan, over on IMDb, this movie is getting trashed. Now, I don't know if that's trolls or if that's like real reviews, but it's got like less than 5 on IMDb. You're not doing so hot.
Well, it's got a 62% on Rotten Tomatoes, so
there you go.
That. Yeah. I mean, I can see why you guys like it. I just think it's kind of a mess and it's problematic. And I think it could have been really great. I think for me, that's really the frustration is that I don't think this is well done, but I think it could have been.
Yeah. I hear you on that. By the way, was anybody surprised when Kelly Rowland showed up? I was like, hey, it's Kelly Rowland. So
no, because when you turn on the screener, when you pause it, it's Kelly Rowland's face.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
So I was not surprised to see her.
See, I didn't pay any attention to that. I was just like doing other things, and then she's on screen. I'm like, oh, hey, there's Kelly Rowland. So,
Kelly Rowland, the underrated one,
she is underrated. Like she's had some good singles, man. Anyway, alrighty. So I think have we covered everything we want to cover about bad hair? It sounds like we have, but I'll leave you guys to the last
I think
word.
So.
Okay, Megan.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well then, gang, these movies we can see them all in places.
Yes.
Borat is coming out. It's an Amazon. It'll be on Amazon on Friday, the day the podcast is released. Trial of the Chicago 7 is currently playing on Netflix. Synchronic is going to be released on VOD the 23rd. And Bad Hair is a Hulu movie, which will be out now, 23rd. So there you go. That's where you can see them all. Still don't go to movie theaters, please, because movie theaters are somewhere where, COVID hangs out. It's really too bad we can't go to movie theaters, but it's too bad we can't do a lot of things. So
I miss movie theaters, but I miss everything.
Yeah, exactly. That wraps it up for this week's spoiler piece. We've got some things we want to tell you, though. We just told you where you can see all the movies, but what I wanted to say and what I know Evan and Megan want to say is thank you, Otto Clamor, our editor. It is a gift to have somebody else edit this show. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Otto.
Thank you. There are all kinds of places you can get the podcast, your Apples, your blah, blah, wherever you get your podcast and get Spoiler Piece. You can find us on our website, spoilerpiece.com, on the social medias. We are Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook. We're at Spoiler Piece on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. If you wanted to get in touch with us and tell which of us is correct about bad hair or every movie, you can email us, spoilerpiece@gmail.com, or you can give us a call
at 862-21-PEACE.
And please leave a voicemail. We love voicemails. We wish they're such a joy. So please do that. And if you like the show, very important, please rate and review us by going to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece. And if you really, really like the show, you can join our Patreon. On this week's exclusive Patreon audio, a patron of ours chose for us The Craft to get into.
Yes.
So we talk about The Craft, the 1996 Witchy Woman movie. And We'd also really like to thank our patrons.
Yes, we definitely would. We want to give a huge thank you to Bill Skehan or Skehan. I'm sorry, Bill. I do not know how to pronounce your name, but I hope one of those pronunciations is correct. Bob Chipman. I also want to thank Chris Wilkinson, Davida Margolin, Deirdre Crimmins, Elisa, Christopher Jensen, Max Colville, Mike, Lord of the Sith, Rory Glynn, Sean Pensionar, Shauna Harris, Shelley M. McCaskill, Shona Glasgow, and Zach Pigeon. Thank you so much, patrons. We love you and appreciate you.
Thank you, patrons.
Thanks.
And so that is it. My name is Dave Riedel. You can read my stuff if I'm writing it in Salt Lake City Weekly. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm on Twitter, Letterboxd, and Instagram as Dave Sees Movies.
My name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living. You can follow me on Twitter and on Letterboxd as Real Recon.
And my name is Megan Kearns. I'm a contributor to Edge Media Network, and I too am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association. You can follow me on Twitter at OpinionS World and on Instagram and Letterboxd at The OpinionS.
Thanks, everybody. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.